Day 41, Charlottetown to Truro. I woke up early, a little excited, but a little sad as well. I had a very clear, specific goal. I had to visit one of the towns in New Brunswick that I have lived in previously as a child. However, that meant that I was going to be leaving Prince Edward Island. After stopping by a local Tim Hortons to pick up some coffee, and going throughout my daily routine, I headed back over the Confederation Bridge and back into New Brunswick. I said goodbye to Prince Edward Island, knowing that I would return someday soon. If I had yet but one regret, it would have been that I didn't spend enough time there. After driving for about 2 hours or so, I arrived in Sackville. I have not been here since my early youth. The streets looked like there was some sort of party the previous evening. I walked around the downtown area, if it could be called that, and remembered things from my youth. I located my old elementary school, which appeared to be much smaller than I remember it being. I also drove around my old neighborhood, trying to find my old house, but I couldn't remember which one it was, as it was decades ago. I didn't spend much time in Sackville. There wasn't really anything there. I was so young at the time, and while I did have some nice memories here, they were only memories, and it was time for me to make new memories. I headed back to my beast, excited about my main goal: to come home to my home province of Nova Scotia. Sackville was very close to the New Brunswick and Nova Scotia border, so I knew I'd be coming home very soon. Without hesitation, I left Sackville and headed home to Nova Scotia. I drove down, seeing the Nova Scotia flag and the Welcome to Nova Scotia sign. I felt at home for the first time in nearly 4 decades. I had incredible experiences in Toronto, Montreal, Quebec City, around the Gaspe region, and all around Prince Edward Island. But this is where my heart is. After driving for a distance, I arrived at Joggins Fossil Cliffs. On the northwestern area by the Bay of Fundy are a number of areas where fossils could be found. Joggins Fossil Cliffs was still open during the time, so I thought that this would be a great opportunity to explore the Bay of Fundy at low tide from the Nova Scotian side. Walking around the museum, I was able to view the free displays, but opted out of the guided tour. With the sun shining down and the wind of the ocean calling me, I headed down a path that led me to the ocean floor. Numerous plaques along the way describe this area over the hundreds of millions of years. This was known to be a place where people could go fossil hunting, although any fossils they found were not to be removed from the area. While it certainly wasn't busy, after all, this was a Sunday afternoon, it was great to see that the entire museum and area was open, and that I wasn't the only one there. Looking at the cliffs, I could only imagine what history they held, with what stories they could tell and the sights they have seen. The remnants of an old pier was here as well, but I wasn't sure if there was any type of maritime activity here previously. I headed right up to the water. Since it was low tide, I dipped my hand into the ocean again. Once more, I felt the life that the Atlantic Ocean brings to this area. For the first time in decades, since my childhood, I was in Nova Scotia with the Atlantic Ocean on my hands. After enjoying my time here, I headed back up to my beast. I passed by a labyrinth made by fossil rocks along the way. I didn't enter the labyrinth, as I was in a rush to get something to eat. Firing up my beast, I continued heading south, passing by numerous small villages along the way. After a while, I decided to stop rushing and enjoy the scenery. I stopped at Advocate Harbour, took some time to enjoy the rocky shoreline and the breathtaking scenery of the Bay of Fundy. I found myself again, feeling the joy of being home, a place that had always been a part of me, a place that I have longed to return to. Most of my entire adventure across Canada had been rushed to get to this point, rushed to get home. And here I was, with the sun, the ocean, the wind, and the earth around me, I was back home in Nova Scotia. I wanted this moment not to end, but I knew that I had to continue. I kissed the ocean goodbye for now as I drove to find myself a mid-afternoon breakfast. I ended up at Parrsboro, where my body complained so much that I couldn't go any further. My excitement and heightened emotional state ignored my body's complaints until now. Of all the places I ate at, I ended up at Tim Hortons. Deciding to sit in the park and enjoy the summer while eating hash browns in the middle of the afternoon, I came across the statue of the Mi'kmaq warrior god Glooscap. Glooscap has a strong, vibrant history in the storytelling culture of the First Nations in this area, primarily the Mi'kmaq people. Given the history of cultural genocide and First Nations people of Canada have experienced over the centuries, it was great to see their culture celebrated with an enormous, imposing statue reminding everyone who created what is known as Atlantic Canada.
Thank you for sharing in my experience. If you enjoyed my video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would truly appreciate you sharing my video on your social network as it helps my channel grow. Be sure to check my playlist to see different categories on my exciting adventures I'm sharing with the world. Life is an adventure. Let's share this experience together.